In this video, we're going to be speaking about bail conditions that are normally attached to bail whenever a person is granted bail by the court. Sounds interesting? Let's get into this video now. Guys, if this is your second or third video here and you haven't subscribed as yet, come on, lend some support and just subscribe right below there. If you're getting value from the video, just give me a like as well. Or even if you have ways as to how I could improve, some suggestions to improve the videos, well, just leave them in the comments there. I want to learn from you as to how I could improve these videos. Now, in this video, we're going to be speaking about the topic of bail conditions. If you haven't seen that video where I dealt with bail, I'm going to leave it right on the link on top here so you can have a look at that after. Remember, whenever a person is granted bail, the court has to consider various factors, and the very objective of granting bail is to ensure that that person comes to court whenever they have to come to court. The court also needs to be mindful of whether the person is going to commit an offense while on bail, in addition to ensuring that that person doesn't interfere with evidence or the course of justice, obstruct the course of justice, or interfere with any virtual complainant or so during the court proceedings. And these are the reasons why the court would consider putting bail on, or bail conditions I should say, on a bail when granted to a person. Now let's just briefly look at some of these conditions that the court may look at. One of the major ones is to have the person surrender their passport to the court. So if it is that a person does have a passport, or the person is in the process of applying for the passport, then the court would ask that that person surrender their passport to the court during the period of the matter being heard, so that the person doesn't leave the jurisdiction. Same as if the person intends to leave the jurisdiction, the person should come before the court and ask the court and inform the court that they intend to leave the jurisdiction. Another is where the court would ask that a person would go to a specific police station at a specific time, during a period of time I should say, to report their presence there. That is to monitor where the person is and around what time the person may be, wherever they may be as well. So that's another condition that the court may place on a person who is granted bail. The third is to stay away from the virtual complainant. So if it is that it's an offense where there's an alleged victim, the court may indicate that the person is to not go around the virtual complainant about 100 meters. Must stay away from the virtual complainant for 100 meters or even more. You can't go to the virtual complainant's workplace, you can't go to the house of the virtual complainant. Anytime you see the virtual complainant, you need to stay away from the virtual complainant. Another condition that the court may have is that there's to be no communication, direct or indirectly, with the virtual complainant, which means that you can't message that person via social media, you can't write letters to the person, can't call the person directly, or send a message to the person through another individual. All of those are some conditions that the court would apply whenever they are considering granting bail to a person. Now, let me just give you an example of this. Let's say Jack and Jill, you know, that's the famous persons, there's a very famous persons on this channel. So Jack and Jill, some incident happened with Jack and Jill, who works at the same location. They work at a mall, right? And there's some incident that happened on the mall, and Jack, who is a virtual complainant, goes to the police and make a report against Jill. The matter is brought before the court, let's say for assault, right? And what happens is Jack would go before the court as a virtual complainant, and Jill would be the defendant in the matter. So the court would now consider, should we grant bail to Jill or not? The court would look at various conditions, various factors in granting bail, previous convictions, if any pending matters, her involvement in the community, all those kind of factors the court would look at. I did a video on that, you should check that video out, what the court considers in granting or denying bail. The court would then say, okay, because Jack is a virtual complainant, Jill, you cannot go around Jack, you need to stay away from Jack, at least 100 feet from or meters from Jack. There's to be no communication with Jack, you are to stay away from his workplace and so. Now, some persons might find that those conditions may be a bit onerous, and you may not want to comply with the court's condition. But in such a case, what Jill would have to do is to go before the court and make an application for a variation of bail, or to explain to the court the difficulties in her complying with those conditions, and then the court will reflect on all factors and decide if they're going to vary the bail condition or not. You can't just not comply with the court's conditions. You need to explain to the court why you may not be able to comply with the court's conditions as applied, and the court would, in its discretion, and they're reasonable, they would consider all things and see if they could vary the bail conditions. So don't just ignore the bail conditions and say, yeah, irrelevant and I would do as I wish. No, you can't do that. You need to follow the conditions, and if there's any difficulties, you must have a good reason why you're not complying with the conditions. So if, for example, you are to report to the police station within a certain time and you're unable to do that on a specific day because of illness, you should get a medical to present that to the court to explain why you were absent or not able to report on that particular day, and so on and so on. If you speak to your lawyer is going to give you full details and explain the concept thoroughly. So remember, these videos are not legal advice. They're just here for educational purposes and for information, so that you could become empowered through knowledge and understanding. Now, I had some matters where the defendant, they had some conditions to stay away from the virtual complainants, and the virtual complainants were the ones who were trying to reach out to the defendant. And in such a case, what I would normally tell my clients to do is to make a report to the police about that, as well as to make a little entry in a journal so that there will be proper records, so that the court would know that you are the one who was not reaching out to the virtual complainant. In fact, in more than one of these scenarios, it happened where the virtual complainant reached out to my client, the defendant, and then the defendant informed me so that I was able to advise them accordingly. And then the next time we went to court, lo and behold, the virtual complainant started to make some allegations in the court, saying that my client, the defendant, was reaching out to them. And thank God my clients followed my instructions, and they had proper records. They had the police report and other records to show that, in fact, it was the virtual complainant who was reaching out to them and not the other way around. So again, speak to your lawyer about whenever there is a potential breach on the other side, the virtual complainant, so that your lawyer could advise you as to what steps to take. Now, I think we've said a lot today, but in summary, there are conditions that the court would normally apply to bail to ensure that the person surrenders to court, doesn't have any kind of communication also with the virtual complainant, doesn't obstruct the course of justice, as well as doesn't commit any offense while on bail. I identified various conditions that the court may look at, and there's some others as well. But I think that's just enough. That's enough for now, you guys. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe right below there. If you have subscribed already, thank you so much for your support. Share this video with some other persons. Let them know that on this channel we simplify the law and we empower them by them understanding and knowing what the law is. Check out some of my other videos, you guys. Take care for now. Bye.